Greetings and welcome, I'm Ash, and this is my review of Firewatch, a very stylish and atmospheric narrative-driven adventure game where you play as Henry, a would-be writer who seeks escape from his problems amidst the wilderness of Wyoming. Your only contact with the outside world, and in general, is your snarky but genuine supervisor Delilah. Together, the two of you have a simple job: ensure that the park doesn't get engulfed in a blazing inferno. But simple things don't usually stay very simple for long, and soon enough you are dragged into a mysterious adventure that will have you hiking, climbing, and falling all over the park in search of answers. And what a park it is! Firewatch might just be one of the most visually gorgeous games I've played in years. No matter where you decide to hike, your companion is going to be a rich and lively scenery that is filled with all of the colors of nature. Everything from the muted yellow of old dry grass to the vibrant green of fresh sprouted saplings to the crystal blue of small bubbling streams. To top it all off, the park is also a very serene place, and outside of some late game scenarios, you will be able to explore it and enjoy it at your leisure, which I do recommend. The lifelike greenery aside, it is the lighting that truly elevates the environment into something simply spectacular. As you hike across mountain trails and over meadows, the time of day will progressively change, resulting in the forest taking on a whole new look. This is especially apparent during mornings or late at night when the sun's rays hit the forest canopy at an angle, resulting in quite the scenic view. But not everything is always fun when you're out alone in nature, as those that have extensive camping experience will attest. During the day, the rustle of leaves and the bending of grass is a cheerful companion to you as you travel across canyons and fields, but the same trip during sundown is a terrifying experience as the looming shadows and howls of wind will start playing with your mind. With very few points of reference and a mysterious story having you on edge, you might feel like you're being stalked by someone who always somehow stays out of sight. While Firewatch never goes into full-blown horror mode, expect to have some very tense moments. While the scenery makes it well worth exploring the national park Firewatch takes place in, the game itself unfortunately doesn't reward you with much for wandering off the path. There are almost no optional areas, that I could find anyway, that are simply there because they're an interesting place to explore. Don't get me wrong though, there are plenty of nifty locations for you to rummage through, but each of those is a part of the main story and you will be quote-unquote forced to go through them eventually. What I am talking about is the lack of completely optional side areas of no plot significance that simply serve as eye candy to the dedicated few that wish to find them. Another issue I have with exploration is the overly long climbing, hacking, and jumping animations that, while flavorful and realistic, end up being very annoying after the halfway point, when you begin crossing large sections of the map repeatedly. Climbing up a steep hill is exciting the first few tries, but when you do it a dozen times in a half hour, it starts feeling like Firewatch isn't really valuing your time very much. Even though I ended up being disappointed with the off-the-trail exploration, the areas you do get to visit are all well done and rather unique, each with its own story to tell and items to peruse. To Firewatch's credit, the objects and letters you find out in the world either have plot foreshadowing features about them, or serve as a way to deliver a couple of actually funny jokes through your conversations with Delilah. My favorite examples of these items are the large amounts of books you can find, each of which has a detailed cover and readable plot synopsis on the back. It is a small thing that's very easy to miss, but it gives you a good insight into the characters and their tastes. While on the topic of exploration, you will find a single-use camera early on in Firewatch that ironically contains more than a single use, about 20 of them to be exact. You can use it to capture some scenic vistas or memorable locations you come upon, and I heavily recommend you do so. The reason for this is that once you're done with Firewatch, you'll be able to order a full set of physical prints based on your photos for $15, with shipping included. While not something I'm personally interested in, this is definitely a cool idea that I do appreciate being put into Firewatch. There is nothing like a couple of photos to remember your journey, even if it's a virtual one. And nothing makes a journey as interesting as traveling with friends does. In terms of Firewatch, that means you will be spending the majority of your time chatting to your boss and supervisor, the extremely sarcastic but still caring Delilah. I'm not sure whether the two voice actors were locked in a room with a key thrown away or what, but the chemistry between them is simply outstanding. When Henry, the character you play, and Delilah first talk over the radio, they are somewhat distant and a bit defensive, but as time goes on and in-game days roll over, they start acting like real, actual friends. When I say friends, I don't mean the Hollywood movie sort of friendship where everyone is always nice and everything is always perfect. No, actual real friendship where the two of them constantly mess with each other, swear without censoring themselves, but always stand ready to go above and beyond what's expected of them if the other person needs help. The best example of how well their chemistry works is that the very first joke Delilah uses to break the ice with you is also the final bit of dialogue spoken in Firewatch, a moment made extremely powerful because of it. It also helps that the voice acting and writing in general are simply top-notch, which is a good thing indeed because I'd wager 50% of the gameplay is spent with you talking to Delilah, and if that was either poorly written or acted, I think I would have been driven insane by now if I wasn't already. Luckily, it is so good that I don't even have any major complaints about it. Both characters act like real people would in the circumstances they're in, which is a great boon to immersion because when the mystery ramps up later in the game, the panicked dialogue and confused voice acting add a lot to the experience. While there is a lot of preset dialogue, you still get a decent amount of choice and control in terms of how the story develops, which includes your relationship with Delilah. In my playthrough, we ended up being best buds and spent the majority of the long summer nights talking about random nonsense and simply joking around. But if you keep choosing the more closed off and snarky responses, you can end up being simply a lookout and his boss at best, or bitter rivals at worst. I'll admit I didn't test how extensively you can piss Delilah off, because I started to feel pretty bad about acting like an asshole, so I cancelled the experiment off, but the choice is there for you if you want to run around in silence. As for the main story itself, I would absolutely love to talk about it, but the fact is that even mentioning that certain events might or might not happen would ruin the experience for you. So for once, I'll be smart and keep my mouth shut as far as the main plot goes. What I will tell you is that I went into Firewatch with the idea that I'll spend a few evenings in a carefree atmosphere running around the woods, but instead I ended up leaving with a lot of conflicting emotions that will take a few weeks before I can properly process all of them. It might not seem like it on first glance, but Firewatch is a very touching tale about how different people deal with love and loss and the consequences of one's actions. Firewatch might have a few small annoyances, and it's not the most gameplay heavy title out there, but it does offer a beautifully realized world to explore, filled with interesting characters, compelling dialogue, and a narrative that will stay with me for many months to come. So if you are someone that greatly values story and exploration, then I don't think you will regret donning the Fire Lookout outfit and stepping into the wilderness of Firewatch. Thank you guys for listening, and if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't, please let me know, and if you'd like to see more, you can either subscribe here, or you can check out the website link down below. That one tends to be updated more frequently. With all of that said, I hope you guys have a nice day, and I will see you soon. See ya!